Hi amigas, welcome back to another one of my videos. For those that don't know me, my name is Beverly, and for those that are returning, thank you guys so much for joining me today. In today's video, as you guys saw by the title, I have received my very first UV DTF printer, and not only that, it is pink, of course. Can you tell that I love pink? Yes, I do. I'm very excited to be unboxing and setting up this printer with you guys because honestly, it took about 2 months for it to get here and it was something I could not keep in, but I finally kept it a secret and here it is and I want to reveal it to you guys. Honestly, setting up this thing was a little difficult, so I might not show every single little part, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments and I will get to you guys as soon as possible. I'm very excited for this one, of course, just like all my other videos. So let's go ahead into the unboxing and setup. So before we actually get into that real setup of our UV DTF printer, I want to show you guys how everything came packaged from the vendor whenever I got everything out of the wooden cradle box. Yes, it came in a big old wooden box. It was super heavy, but my husband and his friend were able to get it in. I got all the goodies, the program, the print heads, everything as far as the inks go. The empty containers were on the side. So these are all the goods with A and B film and all the pieces. This is just showing you guys a little bit of the front side of the printer. I always like to show you guys every little bit of it so you guys can get the real on experience. We are going to start by taking everything out of the packaging. That is the first thing you guys want to do because it just makes it a lot easier whenever it comes time to assemble. Here I am getting out the motors that will be connecting to the rolls just to make sure everything functions properly and it actually rotates. Whenever you're pulling the film through the printer, it has a plug-in and a little switch which you will use, and you guys will see here in a little bit why I'm pulling all this out. At first it was all confusing to me too, but little by little it will start making sense. This is the waste container and the holder that will hold the waste container. So all of your excess ink, or all of your used up ink I should say, will go into this container here. And then these metal rods are pretty much going to go at the bottom of the printer as well. You guys will see how I connect them to the motor later on. And these two little metal plates which will hold the A, or I should say the B film in the front of the printer. As I continue in packaging everything, these are the caster wheels which are going to be able to be attached to the bottom of the stand, so whenever we move our printer it just moves flawlessly and they move in all directions. So honestly, these are a game changer. I believe there's about 4 of them if I'm not wrong, and those are the ones that are going to be attached to the bottom of the stand, as well as these little like stoppers, I guess you could say. I'm not sure exactly what they're meant for, but I added them as I was told and I did that. This is going to be the laminate B film which goes over the UV DTF wraps. These are all my inks, which are the UV DTF inks. I have the magenta, I have the cyan, we have the white, we also have yellow, and of course the most important one, which is the glow, which really is the varnish, and then the black. As you all can see, you should be receiving about 6 big containers when it comes down to this UV DTF printer. And this is going to be the A film, which is the sticky side that it gets printed on and it separates. So yeah, so much fun. You guys will see all of this as we continue. I'm just taking the packaging off of the stand. All of this is a stand that goes at the bottom of our printer. And we also have some other goodies here aside, which this still part is part of the bottom of the stand. And we have those 2 little boxes that were where the original print heads were at. Luckily for me, my printer already had the print heads installed, which one's for the varnish and the other one's for the colors. So that was honestly amazing. Now let's get into the box that has all the extras and some of the stuff that we'll need to hook up to our printer and some tools. So these right here are the tools. This is one of the handles that gets attached to the printer. Some dampers. This is a strip that goes inside the printer. I'm assuming that's extra parts. These are all extra parts. same extra, and then the USB that goes into the computer. This one is your Ethernet cable that you need to connect from your computer to your printer. And here are the REN software and the cleaning software that comes with the printer, which you will also need. Next, I just wanted to show you guys how the back looks of the printer. This is really the top side of it. It has a motor on the back as well. The other motor that I previously showed you guys at the beginning of the video is one that goes actually in the front bottom side. It's just that we can't install it yet until we put the legs on there. But I just kind of wanted to show you guys a quick overview of the printer without it being assembled and kind of showing you guys the inside a little bit. The print head right now is locked in just because of packaging purposes. That way it's not moving around or getting damaged. But you guys can see the capping station is right there, which is one capping station for the colors and then the other one for the varnish. These are the buttons on the front of the printer and the little knobs where you're able to adjust the UV lamps, which I will show you guys later on. And here, those two little metal plates that I showed you guys at the beginning of the video, I'm going to be installing them now. This is what holds the B film from the front, which is the laminate. So you guys have to use the tools that they give you, and we're just gonna kind of install those little metal plates. That way it's able to hold our B film later on. So you guys just unscrew the screws, put them back in once the little metal plate is in. Make sure it's tightened all the way. And I'm now doing the same thing to the other side, just so everything's good to go. This was what's gonna hold it up. Jumping into more unboxing is trying to get this tedious like saran wrap off of the A film, which is the sticky film where your UV DTF decals or wraps get printed on. It has two parts to it, so it kind of like opens up. One side is like the excess and then the other side is the sticky side. It's a little confusing, I know. I feel like I never understood it either until I actually installed it and started using it. But this is how it looks like. It's just clear, and I'm kind of just putting it onto the rod and just trying to get it all set up onto the actual printer, which is gonna go on the back of our printer, okay? Next, we're gonna jump into starting to assemble the legs for the stand. These are the stoppers that I was talking about. They're going in the middle. Mind you, they don't touch all the way down, so I honestly don't know what the purpose of these are since they're just there. I feel like they might be support in case the wheels break off. Those are there to hold up the printer, maybe, but I'm putting in those stoppers in the middle as I was told, and I am tightening them up so that way they don't move. After that, we're gonna go ahead and add our caster wheels, which they twist from like all sides, and that's the glory of having wheels, because it just makes it a lot easier for you to move your stand once everything's applied. You have two little parts for these, as you guys can see, and then each wheel has to have 4 screws with that little disc. So that's what I'm showing you guys here, just showing you guys how I install it. I'm only going to really show you guys how I put in one wheel because it's common sense and it's just so repetitive. So you guys will see the process on how I'm adding these. My hands are black, you guys, because this is a messy process. I feel like I was like doing a whole bunch of stuff and my hands were all black because of all the stuff that I was touching. It's definitely not a clean process. It's more of the messier side, but I just wanted to show y'all. Now, once your wheel is applied, you want to make sure it actually rotates all over. Here my husband is kind of jumping in, doing the rest of it for me. He's adding the other type of leg to the bottom stand that I kind of started to assemble. He's just screwing those in, which it's just common sense, the same thing. And he's taking these like pink metal rods from the bottom of the printer off because he has to kind of put in the bottom stand or the leg, and he has to attach it and screw it onto the printer. Now, I'm not going to recommend you guys obviously flip your printer to the side like I did, but because it was so heavy, this was the easier thing to do for us. I was just kind of helping him. We obviously had the video on my iPad and we're just kind of trying to follow along with the steps, but this is why I wanted to film this video for you guys so you guys can actually see more of a in-depth process of me explaining it as well. So now that we attach both of the main legs onto the printer, Here in a minute, we will start to stand it up, but first we have to add the remaining of the bottom parts of the leg, just so whenever we flip it upright, it's all even and it works properly. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Here we obviously stand it up already. It's good to go, and it is up on its 2 legs. Now we have to add the other parts for stability, I'm assuming, which is 2 rods going across the bottom, just so everything is actually like strength. It holds up a lot better. In some of these parts, I actually felt like I was just more in his way than I was helping, but I was actually holding it up on one side while he screwed the other. Then here you can kind of see me struggling trying to put in the screw, but I wasn't using the actual screwdriver, so it wasn't helping. So yeah, it was just a mess, but my husband came to the rescue and helped me with the other side. He was also kind of just like tightening and untightening the top because one of the like screws wouldn't go in right. So it was just a common thing that we had to keep going back and forth for. You will notice as you're assembling the stand that sometimes you have to take a part off that you already put on, and vice versa. That's why I'm saying it's a tedious process, and you only do this once, and especially when you're doing it for the first time, you really like sit there and think like, am I doing this right? But obviously after your first rodeo, you get faster at it and you just get the grip. Okay, you just get the hang of it. Here he's just screwing on the other side, and I'm just holding it up, making sure everything stands right. And you know, being his little helper or whatever, here he's just repeating the process. These clips are honestly super long and detailed, but I wanted to show you guys every little bit of it because I did not want you guys to miss out. Also, in this part, I think we had eventually figured out that the stand was on backwards because there was a part that's supposed to go on the other side, so we kind of had to undo everything. I didn't show it on camera just because I felt like, wow, that was a total flop, but we got it done. It's trial and error, you guys. We're just continuing the process over and over and over. Coming up, we added these little side plates that go on the side of the printer stand. This is really where those metal long rods are going to go through because there's 2 little holes that kind of just shoot through those. And that's where those metal rods would be going through. So just FYI, this is why it's there. It's labeled right and left, so you know exactly what side each one needs to go on. So he's just kind of screwing those on. I didn't really get to see the whole process of this because I was late to record, but I'm showing you now kind of how we're putting those like metal rods into that little side plate that we kind of installed. I'm just putting them in. Then my husband is going to help me put in the waste container and the little holder, and he's also just screwing this side down. Here in a minute as well, we are going to be adding the next part, which is the motor. As you guys can see, this is the motor that goes at the bottom, and it's honestly not 100% necessary because if you don't care that your UV DTF gang sheet roll just falls to the ground and you know it's just kind of on the floor, it's fine. But if you wanted to actually wrap up into a like roll of one of those cardboard rolls and not just be all over your floor, then you definitely need to be using this roller. Here we are taking the screws off of the print head just because right now it's locked in because of shipping purposes, but he's kind of taking those little rods off and the screws, and it's gonna actually let the print head loose, so whenever we turn it on, it's able to slide side by side. This is very important. You don't want to leave that on because you're never gonna be able to print unless you take those rods off. Now I am adding the back A film, which is the sticky side. It's a literal process, just adjusting this, making sure it's centered, and then we are going to feed our film through. You do eventually have to separate the top of this film. It kind of opens up. Then you have a sticky side and then the excess side that's going to go and roll up. This is the B film from the front that I'm just kind of installing. I hope in my future videos I can show you guys a more in-depth process of how I do it. But since this was my first time doing it, it was just kind of like I'm recording and I'm hoping this is going right. But I hope to show you guys more detailed in the future, and I hope you guys can still somewhat see how I'm doing it. On this next part, I have to realign my film. I had initially already aligned the A and B film together, and they just kind of have to go over one another, and I realized that it wasn't aligned right, so I cut off that piece and I started to try to realign it. Now you want to make sure that for this step the printer is off, because this orange metal bar here, or rubber bar I should say, actually gets really hot. That is what laminates the top film to the UV DTF wrap once it's fully done, and you just kind of want this little piece to go over the roller and then around it and down. So I'm just kind of lining that up right now, making sure, and I realized that it wasn't lined up, so I kind of got my screwdriver and I moved the laminate over to the right side a little bit just to make sure that it was aligned to the other film, since the back film is already there and I don't want to move or mess with that. So I just kind of now put it back into place, grab my little screwdriver, and now once I had it over a little bit to the right, I just kind of tightened everything back up, and I am trying to get that sticky film that you see that I'm trying not to touch. That's the sticky side of where it prints on, just in case you didn't know, and I'm just trying to pull it forward slowly while trying to overlap this laminate or B film over it. That way, once it's actually printing and everything, it starts like laminating over top how it's supposed to. And then, like I mentioned, this orange bar just is hot usually, and it kind of just like laminates it over top, and it works out. So then I turned on the printer because I pretty much had it lined up, and I just needed to feed the film through to make sure it was fully coming out. I did have to open up the rod on the side of my printer, which is a spare piece that I did get, and you guys will see a little bit later. I was just pulling it through using the arrows on the printer to kind of just feed it forward. And I also had to open up this rubber orange rod a little bit on the side just to make sure that everything was working properly. Finally, after a gazillion years later, everything is lined up and ready to go. I'm going forward on my film, and you guys can see that it is lined up. The back has that open space. It is now better than what it was before. It's way better, because the other ones were coming out a little bit crooked. And this is kind of the process. You do waste some film, but you actually need to do that to make sure you're able to have it straight. I'm showing you guys this back part because I feel like it's super important. This is a part that I was saying that I couldn't show you guys when I was installing it because it was just super hard. You see how the A film splits open? The bottom part is the sticky side where it gets printed on. The top is just the excess film that kind of gets rolled up within that motor up top. This is just a close-up, and it's super hard to get in there while I'm installing it. So I'm showing you guys these clips. I had lots of trial and errors, but we finally got it. You see the back is open. Everything is aligned, and it works perfectly. Like, I was super happy when I finally got it after a whole day of being super frustrated. Here I am going to be just filling up my little tanks. It's the white, the glow, which is the varnish. This is important because this adds like the last layer to any of your images after it's done printing. Then we have our yellow that I'm pouring in, and then we're gonna go and move on to magenta. These containers are black because the UV DTF film, or sorry, I should say the UV DTF ink has to stay in a dark area. It actually does say that somewhere. So I'm just filling up next the cyan and then the black. And now we're gonna add our Ethernet cable, which is just a network cable. This one was not long enough, so I had to order one later on from Amazon, which is a white one you guys can see hanging on in the back. And we just plugged everything in. Make sure that your cables are also going into the waste container because that's what's going to catch all the waste ink. I'm just giving you guys a little overview on how the printer looks now that it's finally installed. We're going to go ahead and open up the top lid, and when you print you can close it if you want, but here is the print head. Everything is super cute, super sleek, super nice, and it's functioning. That's the most important part, right? That everything works properly. This is the inside and the front side, as you guys can see, to the printer, and this is the little rod that will open up that orange part where you guys are able to put the film through on the front. If you guys know what I mean, that has to be twisted all the way through to make sure your film is secure. This is the power switch, this is the network cable plug-in, and that is where you turn it on, and everything is up and running, and it is beautiful. This is the motor on the back. You guys can see the film at the bottom, and then the excess is being winded up at the top. This little motor is in charge of winding that as it's printing, so it can get it out of the way and it just doesn't get stuck or jammed anywhere. Now that we are done and showing you guys the process, I'm going to shut it off. So amigas, what did you guys think of me setting up my pink UV DTF printer for the first time? Honestly, it was not easy. I like to be honest in all my unboxing or reviews. It was a little tedious process. I did have to go back and forth watching some videos that they sent me, but we got it done at the end of the day. The most frustrating part for me, I think, was setting up the UV film, the A and B film that kind of has to attach and overlap. I didn't show much of it in this video just because it was super hard to record and there is a very tight space doing so, and I feel like my camera wasn't picking up everything. Maybe in the future, whenever I do have to change out the films again, I will show you guys whenever I have a lot more time. But for now, that's it for today's video. I showed you guys the full process of me setting it up. I didn't, however, show you guys how to install the programs or anything like that because the technicians are really good at setting that up remotely through your computer. So in my next video, if you guys do stay tuned, you guys will see me actually using the softwares, printing, and doing a quick maintenance that you guys do on the daily with the UV DTF printer. Now, I know I didn't mention in this video at all yet that this pink DTF printer is also from the same company I got my DTF printer from, and that is HAOLIC. So make sure you guys check them out. All the information is down below on how you guys can contact my sales rep, which his name is Jerome, and you guys can save some money by purchasing either one of these printers if you guys use code BYA or mention my name Beverly Garcia whenever you guys are talking to him. All that information, like I mentioned, will stay below so you guys can reach out to him at your earliest convenience. You guys don't want to miss out on these awesome printers, and especially this one I'm very excited about because I know we're going to be able to do a lot of cool new things. And that is it for today's video. Make sure you guys give me a thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed and you turn on the post notification bell so you are notified every time I upload a new video. I will catch you guys next time. Bye!